Okay, welcome to another live recording of the Nursing Home Podcast, the podcast that discusses in simple terms, in plain speak, if you will, some of the intricacies of the nursing home world and even the healthcare world in general. And we bring you guests and experts that talk about their specific areas of expertise. So today, I am happy to to discuss something that's very, very misunderstood across all industries, and something that's very relevant today when we have less face-to-face interactions, as the concept of content marketing and more specifically social media marketing. And what does that mean to the healthcare space? So today's guest is Wendy Margolin. Wendy is the owner of Sparkr Marketing, a company that helps health and wellness experts stand out online with effective content marketing. So, Wendy, welcome to the Nursing Home Podcast.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me, Shmuel. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to share with us your expertise in this field. I want to jump right in. There's a When someone comes and they ask, we need help with social media for our nursing home. We need help for social media for our physician's office, healthcare facility, or really any company. Can you help us? Actually, usually the first question is, how much do you charge? Right? You should go straight there.
Exactly.
What's it going to cost me to go and take care of this problem? So I always ask them right away is, why do you want to have a social media presence at all? And I don't let up on this question because I find that many times they don't know why. They're convinced by a collection of random um, events, incidents, interactions they have with their peers that they need to. So, how do you deal with this
Right.
issue with your clients, and what is your position on this?
Right. Well, I would totally agree with you that it's really important to figure out what is your goal on social media. I think people just assume that they need to be on it. And I would agree, if you have a business, you do need to be on the channel that your audience is hanging out. So it's really the public forum, the public space, and you do need to be there. But it's important, like you're saying, to know, why do you even want to do it? And then from there, you can figure out a plan, a strategy, which channels you should be on, how often do you need to post, what kind of posts, who's your audience. It's not enough to just put something out there anymore when like you're saying, everybody is on it. So the assumption is that you do have to be there, but because everybody's got that same assumption, it's really important that you understand your goals so that you make the most of this opportunity and that you're not wasting money.
Yeah, I mean, some money, any other resources that are involved in doing this. So, you touched on this briefly just now, and that for a lot of people, I don't want to put any ages here, but for a lot of people, they understand social media almost as magic. We know stories of kids who became millionaires. A
Right.
little shout out to Mr. Beast. I just saw a study on him. I think that he's the first self-made YouTube billionaire. And for people who might not be familiar with it, well, first of all, my kids are crazy about it. So have a look at it. Honestly, never watched any of the episodes, but they think of it like it's magic. You can sit
Right.
there in your pajamas at home and do things that are fun, do things that are maybe even crazy, and really just being yourself and doing it like with that particular example, and in a way that's entertaining, very broad appeal, and earn yourself money, way more money than people who are sweating it out and building companies and businesses. It almost sounds like it's not fair. So my take on this is I think that there are business owners that almost look at social media for them as magic. As long as we don't need it, so we're not going to do it. The moment we're convinced that we need to do it, first of all, we can't do it ourselves. We need someone else to do it, and we want someone in those magic buttons. So, and if it's all it is a button, so why should I hire a professional to do this? Why can't I hire outsource it somewhere? Or yeah, my receptionist does our social media.
Right.
Because that's just very clearly not understanding the benefit. That doesn't mean a receptionist can never do social media. There might be times when they can. That's a basic misunderstanding of its use. So let's talk specifically for nursing homes. So if you have a nursing home, they want to do well online. Let's start with the goals. What is the measurable goal that a nursing home can expect from a successful social media campaign, and how long should that take?
Right. Okay. So that these are you just brought up so many points.
Yeah.
Can I first address the one that you were saying about it being magic? Because I
Yes.
think it pertains to your second point or your second question. So
Sure.
regarding it being magic, I always want to know, well, so how many people out there who tried to be an influencer never made it, right? There are so many more, and you just don't hear about them by the nature of the fact that they never became the influencer. So for every person that did become viral and huge, those people, they there's just a myriad of other people who never made it. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to get a lot of traction, but it really is a long road. And I think part of the reason people think that there's magic when you come to like a nursing home operator and they just want boom, lots of fast followers and high engagement like they're seeing from their competition. So I always tell people that social media marketing and content marketing in general, it's a long road. It's a continuous process of putting out excellent content, and sometimes what you think is going to be fantastic, it it just flops. And sometimes something that you didn't expect to be outstanding is the one that people really relate to. So it's a process of putting it out there, paying attention to your audience, seeing what they like, trying to do more of that. And it definitely takes a lot of time. There's someone I follow on LinkedIn, Liz Willits, and she does a great job and she puts a lot of content out there. And she once did a post where she said, I did 30 posts this month, one went viral. Now, all of her posts were good, but one went viral. So it's really a it's not magic, and you can do your best to analyze the data and then try and replicate it. But the hard and fast rule that I recommend is to just keep continuously creating excellent content and trying to serve your audience and be there for them. And that's really the process. So it's
Got it.
definitely not magic.
Okay. But
Yeah,
now, so first, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And it could help dispel some of the myths. And that's a good point that for every 100,000 people who tried, you have just a couple of YouTube sensations, and the same thing on any other platform.
right.
So just because the nursing home company down the block or the physician down the block is doing really well and they're getting business from their social, doesn't mean that it'll happen to you, and certainly doesn't mean it can happen overnight. Now, the next one is what should let's talk nursing homes specific. This is the nursing
Yeah.
home podcast. Why not? We both have nursing home experience. Let's what should a nursing home expect from a good social media strategy?
Right. Okay. So great question. It's going to depend on the company and how long they've been around. So if they've been
Okay.
around for a long time, they're fortunate to probably already have, meaning how long they've been around on social media.
Okay.
So it's a different game getting started today. It's harder to get followers, it's harder to get engagement, it's harder to get seen. You have to spend more money depending on the platform. So you have to have different expectations depending on if you're starting out now versus if you got started 5 years ago doing this. So that said, you have to consider what are your goals? Who is your audience? Is your audience, and is it on LinkedIn that you're trying to recruit? Is it that you're trying to reach the children of potential residents? So is their age, 40s and 50s? Are you trying to reach the actual residents? Are you trying to reach all three? So you first have to determine what are your goals, who are you trying to reach, and then what's your budget? And budget meaning time and money. How much time and money do you have to put into it? And then you can start to gauge how much you can get out of it. You can put up 3 posts a week and you can expect to get this much engagement or this many followers. You can put up 14 posts a week. So there's not a hard and fast rule. What I recommend is that you are consistent, that you have a plan, that you are looking at what works and what doesn't work, and you're looking to improve it. And then ideally you're putting up a lot of content and you're trying to reach all of the audiences, and you have some money to put into ads, especially if you're trying to reach an audience on Facebook, which I do recommend, um, if you're trying to reach the residence age, especially
Hmm.
potential residents. So it really depends, but it's going to depend on your capability, and then from there you can determine, okay, what are realistic expectations given our budget and our time.
Got it. Got it. So, first of all, thank you for that very full answer. So you touched on a couple of points here, but one thing you touched upon is what are you trying to accomplish with your social media engagement? So are you trying to recruit people? Are you trying to reach the adult decision making children? Are you trying to reach the residents themselves? Broaden it. Are you trying to reach potential vendors to do business with? Trying to reach government regulators, hospital administrators, case managers in the local hospitals, general people in the community, to build your brand awareness. And each one of those people, and a lot of those people may be the same, right? You could have a adult decision maker that also, has a position in the community or whatever, but they may not all speak the same way. They may not all hang out in the same place, um, and they may not all need to be spoken to the same way. And the messaging might be different. So then it's a matter of prioritizing what's most important. And most people tell you heads in the bed. As crass as that sounds, that's what's critical. And unfortunately, right now, many facilities are suffering tremendously from census. So
Right.
where are those where are those residents? Now they may not realize that if you have a bad reputation in the community, that might be part of the reason why you're not getting it. If the hospital administration doesn't know that you exist, that you may not even have a funnel um, available from wherever it is, and another potential referral stream. But the point is, you have to know is having clear goals, and knowing exactly what you want to accomplish, and then finding out where they are. Obviously, is critical. But another point you mentioned is advertising.
Hmm.
This is something that I haven't done too much with, besides for paid ads like Google ads, to drive traffic directly to our website. But from a social media content, is there a
Yeah.
time when you would pay to promote a certain particular piece of content, and on which platforms do you think that makes more sense?
Yeah, good question. So right now, especially, Facebook is pay to play. So it used to be that you could put up some smiling residents or smiling staff, and you would get likes and comments and shares and engagement, all of the above. So I started working in social media marketing in '07, if you can believe that. So
Well,
in '07, literally anything you put up, it just went there. You didn't really have to have a strategy. It didn't have to be a great content. People just saw it. But now it's super saturated. And currently, when we're recording this, so we just finished the election, but there's still a lot of stories, and that's still affecting social media. Instagram, for example, has no hashtag search because of still the election. They're trying to avoid disinformation being put out there, so you can't search hashtags currently on Instagram. So there's a lot of content still from the election, and we're now in the holiday season. So it is a really hard time to be found on Facebook, especially for anybody, for pages and for people. So a lot of people's content is they're getting lower engagement rates and more expensive ads. So that's right now, but I would say that in general, this started. I believe it was 2018. Mark Zuckerberg came out with a big announcement about Facebook and about how they were going to prioritize really the engagement. So, conversations back and forth, making it a very social place. So, if you're not getting people chatting back and forth in your comments, like a lot of what you see on LinkedIn, if you're not having that happen on your Facebook post, then it just doesn't really get seen. And it's hard to always create content that's going to get a lot of comments. If you just put up a motivational quote, which a lot of businesses will do, people aren't going to chat back and forth about the quote.
Right. You're lucky if
So
they
it's
stop
hard.
to scroll to even notice it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's hard to get that chatter back and forth. And so
Wait, hold on.
pages,
Why is it
yeah.
harder to do that on Facebook than on LinkedIn? Because on LinkedIn, it doesn't seem to be as difficult.
Yeah, so I would liken it to on LinkedIn, you are mostly posting when you post as yourself, so you can get a lot of conversation, but a brand, it is a little bit harder to get as much conversation. And also,
Sure.
the platforms themselves don't prioritize the businesses as much as the people.
Which makes sense. It's a
So,
social platform, right?
yeah,
Nike is not a
exactly.
person,
It's
right?
meant to be
Whatever
people,
X
right?
healthcare center
Yeah,
X is not a person.
exactly.
So
So you
it's
see
more
this
like a
on
static
LinkedIn
website
too,
almost.
right?
Yeah.
But Facebook, the lines are clearer between people and brands. So, for example, Facebook is the only platform of my three where my personal page is really still my personal page. I don't mix it with business. And a lot of people are similar to that. Whereas in LinkedIn, your personal page is your business. So, it's a very gray area. So, the nature of Facebook right now is you have to pay to play. So I back to your original question, which is what kind of posts would you on Facebook? It's called Boost, but you go into the ad manager and create ads out of existing content, or you create your own content for ads. And so I definitely recommend for nursing homes that are trying to fill staff positions. That's a great kind of content. So there you can post jobs. People can apply directly to jobs on
Mhm.
Facebook, and that's been pretty successful with the companies that I work with, because nurses and CNAs and a lot of the dietary staff, these people are on Facebook, so they can apply right there. It makes it very easy, similar to LinkedIn. But those staff members aren't always on LinkedIn. It's more the
Mhm.
admin that's on LinkedIn. So the nursing staff, that those positions with higher turnover, they're on Facebook. So boosting those kinds of things, and anytime that my client invests time and money into a piece of content, so something on the website like a blog or some helpful information where they spent more time to get that on there. So that kind of thing as well, I would turn into an ad.
So tell me the difference on engagement levels. Let's say you have a nursing facility, they created a cute video or something that they think their targets should see.
Mhm.
If you post it organically, what could the engagement look like? And then with the boost, what could the engagement look like?
Yeah, so it really depends on
I know.
on their. So there's so many factors. That's why you really have to just work on it and see what's working for you. I'll give you an example. If you if you consistently have engaging content and then you put up a great video, your video is going to be even more engaging than someone else who puts up the exact same great video but hasn't
Okay.
up until that point had great content
Okay.
or a
That makes
lot of
sense.
engagement. So it's a challenge. So there's not like a hard and fast. I can't say to you, oh, you'll have this percent versus this percent. But what I can say is that when you put up a video, um, you can, if you get a few comments on there, so it'll pretty much, that's it. Like it won't live very long showing up in people's feeds. The phenomenon of seeing someone's LinkedIn post from a few days ago show up in your feed because it's getting a lot of comments does not happen on
Mhm.
Facebook. So you can put that up and it'll get whatever it gets on, those few hours. But if you want that to continue to be shown and to get more engagement, you can put a little money behind it. It depends on your goal. There's all these different strategies. So right now, like a good engagement price would be like 4 cents an engagement. So just
Mhm.
also an engagement would be like a click, a like, a comment, a share, or something like that. So 4 cents per engagement would be a really good rate. And that you can, I mean, once you put it up, you get feedback right away, which is what I love about social media ads. You get feedback right away and you can say, oh, this is working. I'm going to put more money behind it. So you can start with like $10 and and then move on to 2000, just whatever. You can figure that out quickly.
Cool. So that's fascinating. Other platforms besides for Facebook. So we understand it, right? Let's just zoom out for a minute. First of all, thank you. That's very helpful. So on LinkedIn, we understand it's more for the professionals, administrators, for owners, maybe directors of nursing and some other levels like that who are looking at it, maybe potential vendors who are doing business with the facility, is where more LinkedIn would be. And Facebook, we understand, is for nurses, CNAs, dietary aides, maybe housekeeping, maintenance.
Right.
That's where
And
that world.
Instagram. You can
Oh,
add
so that's my
Instagram in
next
there.
question. That's my next question. How active should a nursing home be on Instagram? And what are the specific goals that are realistic for them to accomplish on Instagram?
Yeah, good question. So Instagram is actually where more people are moving who are in the younger demographic. So the way I look at it is that your number one goal on Facebook, I would say, is reaching residents. That age group is hanging out a lot on Facebook. If they have children like in their 50s and 60s, they're mostly on Facebook. You're also going to find, so some of my clients have like some more rural communities, and their staff is also mostly going to be on Facebook. Um, there are many, many people who have left Facebook. I think we're going to see that increasingly. I haven't seen current data, but I think we're going to see that increasingly because there's been frustration over the engagement that I mentioned, where people's stuff isn't being seen, and also there was some frustration about the election or things like that. So but before any of that, people were already moving in droves to using Instagram over Facebook. So they're not necessarily shutting down their Facebook, but they're using Instagram. So for your audience who you're trying to recruit, Instagram is a great place to highlight company culture. It's like one of my favorite things that I recommend for which it's hard to get people to do this, and it's not something they really have the capability to do in the middle of a pandemic. But one of the things I love seeing from any company really, but healthcare especially, this is great for a nursing home, is to have like an Instagram takeover where once a week a different employee is takes over the stories, and that person is showing the behind the scenes of what it's like to work in that company. And
Well,
there
that takes
you
a
can
certain level of trust.
Oh, well, so yes and no, because if you have a social media manager, which you should, either someone that you are bringing in from the outside or someone that you have on your team, that person can actually still control what goes up on the story. So there's a way to
Mhm.
cheat about it. You can have the person create the stories on their personal Instagram, but they don't post it. They download it from their phone, they send it to you, you post it. So you still
Okay.
can have control. And you'll see this a lot with colleges. You'll see high schools that have to recruit do this, camps. So it's fun for any place that has wants to showcase its company culture. And if you make your place just look friendly, happy, and fun to work, I mean that's already going to move people in this industry where there's so much turnover and people are constantly having to recruit.
Got it. Got it. So the goal, the goal for Instagram then is more company culture than anything else. Do you actually hire
Yeah.
people directly from Instagram?
No. You can let them know you are hiring. So one of the challenges on Instagram is that you can't add links except for in your bio. So you could send people your bio. It's not a great place to get website traffic until you have 10,000 followers.
And
And
chances
most
are,
nursing homes are not going to have 10,000 followers.
right, right.
You'd have to spend a lot of money if you were starting now to get 10,000. I mean, and you definitely could.
Yeah, but it's probably not worth it. Well, what are you gonna gain by having 10,000 followers that you could swipe
So
up?
at $10,000, you get the swipe up. At 10,000
Right.
followers, you get the swipe up. Yeah.
But the question is, why is that so important for the
So I'm
specifically
saying
for
you asked about recruitment. So it's not, you can't link to your indeed.com easily in a post, things like that. And it's not made to be a direct place to hire, but you could do things like asking inquiries. Like stories about we're hiring, and then you could have a whole story about what it's like to work there. And that might be something you'd spend a little bit more time on if you really needed like a number of staff members for nurses or CNAs in a certain facility. So you could let them know each position, here's what's like. And then what will most likely happen is not that they would apply directly, but they can engage with that content. And when you see that, then you could direct message back and forth. And then in the messages, you could send them
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
a website in order to apply.
Right, right. Okay, amazing. So we covered LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Any other places that's important for a nursing home or any other healthcare company to be present?
So, I mean, I think if you're building a really big brand, Twitter makes sense, but that's the only time that I recommend that is if you're trying to be an industry leader. So if you are, so you Shmuel, you're looking to be an industry, you are an industry leader with this podcast. So that would be another place that you could really spend a lot of time. The only reason I don't recommend it to the nursing home clients is that it's really an ambitious project, and it takes a lot of time, and it needs to be someone internal who is really invested in it. So it works best if you have like maybe the owner of the company or someone who is high up in the management who's really invested in becoming a like a well-known brand and spending the time doing the tweets. It's hard to replicate tweets for someone else on
Right. I
Twitter.
mean, they could be scheduled out. You don't have to be sitting there, 20
Oh,
times a day sending
absolutely.
out
It should
tweets.
be scheduled out.
Yeah. So it'll be scheduled out, but at the same time, for a regular nursing home, you're not going to get. Correct me if you're wrong, but you're not going to get a resident a particular home based on your. Even if you have an influencer that is on Twitter, no one's going to. I don't think so. No one's going to choose their
No,
nursing home that way.
no.
But if you have a corporate entity and you have 50 nursing
Right.
homes and you want to be a force to reckon with, and you want to have influence with government policy and Department of Public
Absolutely.
Health, you want people to know that you're a force to reckon with. That's where it could make sense. And
Right.
but what you find a lot of,
Right.
if you go to a facility that hasn't touched their social media in like 10 or 15 years, you'll find that they have Pinterest, Google Plus, right?
Oh, Google
And
Plus is gone.
yeah, but they still
They'll
have
have the
LinkedIn.
logo.
Yeah, exactly. And they have Twitter because
Right.
that's what was big when they started, and they haven't seen any results from any of it. They haven't touched many of them in years, but like it's just there. And I think right now it makes absolutely no sense for a regular nursing home to have that. But you're right. If someone's going to be an industry leader, and maybe you're right. Maybe I should spend a little bit more time instead of just off that my LinkedIn posts. Most of them go to Twitter. Once in a while, I get some engagement there. It's
Yeah.
time for
So
me to take that.
right. I think it's if you wanted to do it, I wouldn't say don't do it. I think you're someone who could. That said, I think there's a lot to be said for focusing on what is working and investing your time there and not getting spread too thin. Can I share a quick story about that?
Please do.
So I actually, it's top of mind because I shared it this morning on my LinkedIn. So I love women's folk music and a little bit of country. So Dolly Parton got started 50 years ago in the 60s, and in around 74, so 10 years she had been in the business, and she had created tons of songs, including like two of her most famous songs, Jolene and I Will Always Love You. So at the time, Elvis asked her if he could play I Will Always Love You, and he wanted half the rights to it. So she said no. She actually told Elvis no because he wanted half the rights. And it took 20 more years, but she later had Whitney Houston actually sang that song in this movie, The Bodyguard. I'm aging myself. I don't know how old you are, but that was big in the 90s when I was in high school. And everybody knows that song. And she made bank on that song by not selling out. So I think that when it comes to content marketing in general, and especially social media, it's really easy to get sidetracked on all the shiny things because it is like a treadmill. It is a non stop process, there is always so much more you could do. You could spend the endless amount of time and money, and what happens is you will get more out of it by spending that much more time and money. But what is really important is to keep in mind what should be focusing on and not get sidetracked and do those really well. And then if you end up having more time, more support, more staff, more money, then you can start to look at some of those other things. So for you, long story short,
Mhm.
or long story long, I would say keep focusing on LinkedIn while it's working and you're doing a great job there, and you don't want to get spread thin.
Got it. Got it. It's a good story. I did just see some sort of report on Dolly Parton yesterday, really
She's
with
all
that
over
story.
right now.
Yeah, she is, and good for her. I mean, she's not a youngster and still going strong. You know, even
Yeah.
even just a work ethic. She's not working because she has to work. She's working because she likes what she does. And that goes to our other podcast, but that's for a different time. So let me just pull before we let you go here. Let me just pull up one comment here from Betsy, who says, "Great to hear a podcast about nursing homes, marketing, and social media." Well, thank you, Betsy.
Thanks, Betsy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for weighing in. So,
Hello.
Wendy, I'm looking at the time now. It's we've been doing this for enough time that says it's time for us to close up already. Any final thoughts in closing, and then tell us how people can learn more about you and what you do.
Yeah, so I think we talked about a lot of things. We dove into ads and we dove into which platform you should be on. So definitely talked about a lot of different things. But I think the important thing that we really should emphasize is what we started with, is that it's really important to have a plan. There's not one perfect plan that you absolutely have to go with. There are many marketing experts out there, and they should come to you with a proven plan that's worked with other clients and a strategy. So I think that's really important, that either you have this on your own team or you bring it in from outside, that you come up with a plan, you come up with a scheduler, like you were saying, so you're not trying to tweet every minute. You have people inside who can be your social media ambassadors, so people who are helping you get photos and information, and you're focusing on the stories, you're focusing on engagement, and then when you're done with it all, you're locking it down. So that's my strategy. I have a 6-step strategy. It's PSASEL. So plan and schedule and ambassadors, and then stories, engagement, and lock down your apps when you're done. So everyone should have a strategy there, and you should figure out what that is for your organization and plan ahead. And then it's a fun game. It's an outstanding opportunity to be able to reach people where they're at. And so rather of thinking it of something that's overwhelming and hard, just knowing that you can get into your clients' pockets. Like, it's a really unusual opportunity where
Yeah.
we are right now in entering 2021 soon. So that's what I would recommend, is plan and strategy.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah,
And where can they go to learn more about it? I know that you have a course on this and
sure.
some other things. So tell us a little bit more about that and where they can learn more about this.
Yeah, thanks. So if you're watching this on LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, of course. And if you want to hear about my course, where I'm going to be working with healthcare businesses to create content and plan their strategy for 2021, that is at my website. It's sparkrmarketing.com, Sparkr, SPARKR.com. You can find that there. And I also just put up yesterday, I'm pretty psyched about it. It was a healthcare hashtag holiday calendar. So all those days, like, national
Chocolate covered loose leaf
well,
day.
those, but specific, so you can find a lot of hashtag holiday calendars, but like, when is physical therapy month? When is, World Heart Day?
Yeah, they always used to
World
forget
Diabetes
nursing home
Research Day.
administrator, right?
Yeah, so you don't want to be scrambling and having to come up with a post because it's really relevant and you hadn't realized that that was the hashtag of the day. So we created a Google Calendar. You can download it and put it right into your own Google Calendar, and that's at sparkermarketing.com. So both
Well,
those you can find out there.
well, Wendy, thank you for coming on to the Nursing Home Podcast. To learn more about Wendy, follow Wendy Margolin on LinkedIn. You can head over to Sparkr without an E, sparkermarketing.com. And for this episode and all past episodes and future episodes of the Nursing Home Podcast, head on over to the nursinghomepodcast.com. Before we go, I do want to read a review. I always wanted to do this. I usually never have it handy. Today I do. One more second. And this is a review from Amy. So Amy, thank you for the review. Amy writes, I'm a new listener and I'm so refreshed to hear such important discussions. We need to elevate ourselves and our practices by doing better. We need to cherish our aging population. I'm delighted to know that it is happening and that there are so many wonderful people doing wonderful things to make this happen. Thank you for sharing your progress and insight. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Wendy, for coming on the Nursing Home Podcast. We really appreciate it.